Welcome, beloveds, to this segment of understanding ourselves, the people, and the world better in terms of the perspective of cognitive therapy. This session will be addressing on feelings and emotions. Usually, emotions, feelings are judged and evaluated as very complex and complicated because it just feels so much heavy and very painful, and one may just not have any sense or understanding only of what is happening in the first place, right? So that's the thing about emotions, but no, it is kind of simple as well if we have an accurate understanding of it. Lot of awareness and alertness is the skill that one requires to take better not control but management of emotions. And it is understood in the scriptures that emotions or the purpose of a human life is to avoid pain and experience pleasure or happiness. So human life is centered around creating less of pain and more of happiness. So our every thought, every action, every deed is centered around how I create more safety, more protection, more assurance, more security, more financial stability, more sort of people or relationships or some or the other thing that makes me feel like I exist and that it is safer. And so there is no pain or less pain and more of pleasure and happiness. That's what it is understood as. And it makes my heart feel really sad that just to experience less pain or just to have an idea that there should not be any pain, again that's impossible, but people, to experience more happiness and pleasure, people abuse themselves, people misuse themselves, people do a lot of self-destructive actions also, and many times it takes the form of self-harm as well, because somehow they want to escape pain and get relieved, get some sort of relief and more of pleasure or happiness in other contexts. Also, other people misuse other people, do sort of all sorts of abuses and abusive practices, and getting into harmful substances, harmful relationships for creating more of pleasure. Again, either way, it's not at all helpful to them, but it really feels sad to see the condition like this, just so that people somehow release pain and experience pleasure. And also in the society, sometimes it takes a very loud, aggressive, distracting form to suppress pain and experience pleasure, and other times it's more fear based, guilt based, manipulation, and more disguised form of abusives to somehow experience pleasure and create less pain. To an intelligent species, meaning referring to us, this doesn't sound very accurate, right? So hope today's session gives you some understanding in the perspective of cognitive therapy, and my intention is that you understand your emotions and manage them well for yourself and for your loved ones as well. So what are feelings and what are emotions? Both are different. Emotions we will understand in terms of these three key points. First, emotions are like our survival mechanism. Second, emotions are a piece of information. And third, emotions guides our behavior. Okay, let's start with the basics. which responds to any stimulus, whether it's intrinsic in terms of your thoughts, memories, or imagination, some sort of physiological sensation that you experience can be referred to as an emotion. Extrinsic, something happened on the outside, again pleasant or unpleasant, how you feel in terms of your physiology or sensation can be referred to as an emotion. So, very obvious, when you have a pleasant intrinsic and extrinsic stimulus, you likely to have a pleasant sort of sensations, and when the experience is disturbing, overwhelming or unpleasant, you experience a range of negative emotions. Emotions are for our survival mechanism. This goes back to primitive times, meaning the brain and our system is it's doing its job at its best. Okay, let's give its own credit, meaning when or the brain's job is to keep you or to keep us protected, out of danger and survive. So it keeps on sensing any threat or danger in the environment, and as soon as it perceives a threat or danger in the environment, it signals very loudly into your system. It signals, it stresses out, it releases those stress hormones or cortisol, so that you do something immediately to protect yourself, to keep yourself safe, or in other words, to just somehow get out of the danger. Now, then in the primitive time, the danger was right potentially present in front of being, that is a predator, but now those dangers could be in disguised forms like people around us or some mainly people and some difficult interactions or communication to handle, but the system functions in that primitive manner only, meaning the amygdala in the limbic system of our brain, which is known as the primitive brain, gets triggered when it comes to threat or danger. Okay, and the same time our prefrontal cortex, which is the intelligent part, very newly evolved and developed, gets shut down, because this limbic area or the amygdala hijacks our thinking brain, and therefore we are not able to think, evaluate or judge clearly. Okay, and we are just simply driven under emotions. Now brain is doing its job best, like I mentioned, and we are not helpless, which is a good thing, meaning your thoughts are creating your experience of a threat or a danger. So the first thing when it comes to survival is to catch hold of your breath. You somehow relax your physiological system, your sensations, by breathing in and breathing out, and repeatedly do number of such breath cycles, so that you are released from that hijack and prefrontal cortex or your thinking brain takes control of the system and helps you out. Secondly, your thoughts plays a huge role. What personal meaning, interpretation or understanding you are giving to that particular stimulus is further going to guide your feelings and experience in general. So that's the emotions as survival mechanism. It's only and only through our emotions we experience this world, meaning your inner to outer world and outer to inner world. This is, consider it as an exchange, as a transaction. Okay, but this transaction is very important for us to be here, to survive, to be there for people, to be in relationship, to be with our creative projects and tasks and our purpose and everything. So without feeling or emotion, you won't do it, right? So this is something very robotic and very obvious to understand. Second, emotions are a piece of information. Again, very, very important. So, when my clients experience a serious mental health concern like depression, anxiety, or any other, and once I get into this actual model of cognitive therapy as a part of the session and as well as the homework, it's very important to identify thoughts and identify these feelings and emotions as well. When you consider emotions as a piece of information, then you don't get threatened by it, but you do something about it. So, for example, a client experiencing depression will have a very downward unpleasant side of emotions like deep like the person will be unmotivated. Okay, lazy is not the accurate term here, because the person is deeply sad, deeply depressed, if it's that. So extreme sadness is there, grief, upsetness, hurt, disappointment, some sort of inferiority, and if it's more on the depression and hopelessness side, it's a real concern. But when they are doing this work with me, then when we come to this stage of working together, when they start considering it, this emotions as a piece of information, that this depression, this extreme sadness, grief, disappointment, or anger, frustration, irritation, or with anxiety, nervousness, worry, this difficult sensations, they are trying to guide me, they are trying to tell me something, and they are able to catch those feelings in response to thought, then they get into accurate understanding of it. Same thing applies to you. In response to intrinsic or extrinsic stimulus, the sensation that you experience in your body, the physiological sensation, take it as a piece of information rather being swayed in the flow of it or getting threatened by it. Just take it as a piece of information. The best way is to label it. We'll come on that. But now take it as a piece of information. Third, your emotion guides your behavior. Suppose it's very difficult for you to understand what am I feeling or what the other person is feeling. Try to understand their behaviors. How are they behaving? So let's say when it comes to stress, you see the set of responses demonstrated by an individual when the person is angry, irritated, or frustrated. Accordingly, set of behaviors. When the person is happy, pleasant, loved, accepted, joy, particular set of responses or behaviors. Same thing, anxious, nervous, worried, similar set of behaviors. So your emotion is guiding your behavior. Okay, so three things with respect to emotions. Emotions are for our survival mechanism. Consider emotions, your physiological sensations and responses as a piece of information in response to intrinsic or extrinsic stimulus, and emotions guides our behavior. Clear? Now what are feelings? Very interesting here. Feelings are our personal feelings are our personal interpretations that creates our further experience, whether positive or negative. Here, this is what it's interesting. Feelings has an expression of thought. Emotion in itself is not a problem. Emotion in itself was never a problem. So even if you are feeling angry, jealous, frustrated, stressed, anxious, this all are a part of your experience. Never ever think, if you start thinking and feeling that I have to be happy 24/7, like all the day, every time, each time, then you need a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Okay, no, as a human being you experience all sort of emotions with respect to varieties of stimulus around you, right? So emotion at an experience level or at a feeling level is not a problem, because it is a piece of information. It is helping you to understand the world, and that's how you are functional in this world, right? So numbness is not the solution. Numbness is actually a problem, right? So yeah, consider all the emotions for what it is, emotion, and it's good. So when you experience any type of emotion, it is okay. You accept it, you recognize it, you label it. For example, right now I am feeling sad. Right now I am feeling upset. Right now I am feeling disappointed. That's how you acknowledge emotions. Till here it is fine. Meaning something happened, threat wise, unpleasant, whatever, something happened, there was this physiological sensation, you understood it as an emotion, you successfully identified and labeled the emotion as right now I am feeling, and you are accepting it. Till then it's fine. Now let's say few minutes or hours has passed. Now when all of that happened, you also had thought, right? You had thoughts, you had memory, you had further future imaginations also. Now when you get into this personal interpretation of emotions, that's what we understood as feelings. So if your personal interpretation goes on the anxious side, the frustrating side, the irritating side, and it just continues for minutes to hours to days to weeks to months to years, then it is it has already taken the destructive form. Then it's no longer healthy expression of emotion. It's more feelings, it's more your personal interpretation that needs to work at. So in response to any stimulus, we experience emotions, which is our subjective reality. There is this physiological sensation, there is this interpretation meaning thoughts, and feelings, which are your personal interpretation of emotions. Now suppose if the emotion is anger or sadness or frustration, and your personal interpretation is still going on that unhelpful, irrational, negative side, then those feelings continues. It just doesn't get solved, because there is no expression, there is no communication, there is no understanding only at a basic level. Therefore it's very, very important to do two things. First is label and recognize your emotion. Right now I am feeling dash, right now I am feeling whatever, right now I am feeling Y. That's the first thing. Second, communicate your feelings, communicate your emotions to yourself, to the other person, just the way you are experiencing it. I mean, human beings have language. Why don't you use a healthy expression of your words and language, which is a representation of your thoughts only, So instead of just clearly communicate your feelings, that when a particular X thing happened, I felt so and so and so. It's good to begin with yourself by writing it down and see what does that expression of feelings and emotions looks like to you. Okay, next segment is vocabulary. You need to have an expressive vocabulary of your emotion. See, it's not just anger. It could be that you have not slept well. It could be you are really tired, really fatigued, exhausted, burnout, completely stressed. So it's not anger, it's this other things. It's not that you have a problem with anxiety. It could be that some emotions are not taken care. You are doing the opposite of what you should be doing. So it's again tiredness, irritation, maybe a cranky sort of a feeling. Same thing is for depression also. It's not just depressed, very huge word. It could be sadness, upsetting, hurt, disappointing, anger, grief, stress, unhappy, isolated, loneliness. It could be all of this also. So use an extensive form of vocabulary when it comes to understanding and recognizing your emotions. So we covered what emotions are, what are feelings, and using an extensive vocabulary for your emotions. Now here is your homework. In response to the writing down of the thought, ask yourself, what am I feeling? Okay. Other way you can do it, when there is some sort of difficult sensation, immediately stop and ask yourself, how do I feel? What am I feeling right now? Never ask why am I feeling. Why has no answer. You what do you mean by why am I feeling? You are already feeling it, right? So don't go to those theories. Just ask yourself, how do I feel right now in response to XYZ? What am I feeling right now? What is this feeling deep down? And label it. Okay, right now I feel this. Question the answer. Right now I am feeling Y. And use more vocabulary, more words to your emotions. Do not limit it in terms of this 3-4 anger, depress, and anxiety and all. Okay, look into it carefully. Your emotions says a lot more about you, because it shows that intrinsic, vulnerable, beautiful aspects of your personality as well as of your core essence. Either way, it's beautiful. So when you just look into it, you will have an actual experience of your emotions and feelings for yourself as well as for other people. Thank you so much.